Why is it that students don't spend much time revising their rough drafts? Is it something that we're doing in our teaching style? Is there something we can do to make students more aware of what needs to be revised in their rough drafts? My name is Tammy Griffith, and I'll be presenting a micro-teaching lesson on working with rough drafts. By the end of this micro-teaching lesson, you'll be able to describe and implement 2 ways to work with rough draft writing: peer review and reflective revision. After this lesson, you'll be able to model effective peer review to your students and to integrate reflective revision after you give rough draft feedback. Let's look at the background research on rough drafts. Professors Holcomb and Buell of the University of South Carolina performed a data mining study of over 7,000 papers. They compared rough draft to final draft, and what they found was the majority of students treat their rough drafts as if they were a complete paper and only need some surface revision. 2/3 of the papers were nearly identical from rough draft to final. Professor Rebecca Aiken performed an action research study, and she found that revision writing not only improves skills, but it fosters critical thinking. The problem is that students don't really understand the writing process, and they're not sure the value of revising their work. A variety of strategies is recommended, such as peer review and teacher feedback, to get the best out of a rough draft revision. Professors Yang, Shun, and Bakiti studied 152 students. The concentration should be on peer review and self-regulation. They say that struggling writers have trouble because they lack goals, either for the writing assignment or for the course. They found that clear rubrics and explicit instruction help with revising rough drafts. So, let's look at peer review and see what the research says about that. According to Professor Rebecca Aiken, peer review is a social activity. It involves teacher and student interaction and also interaction with peers. Students enjoy peer review, but they have concerns that their peers may not give them quality revisions. Without direction from teachers, the students are dissatisfied. So, our textbook says teachers should train themselves as well as their students. Chansky and Ellis did a study of 153 essays, and they found that giving feedback is a cognitively active process. Students can improve their scores by giving and receiving feedback. In their study, they found that students who gave feedback improved their scores twice as much as students who only received feedback. So how can we model effective peer review? First, we need to teach our students that peer revision is an opportunity to improve the quality of the paper. We must train students in their group roles and in their responses. How do we do that? We can ask some reflective questions. Comment on the issue of this paper. How does it support the thesis of the paper? Also, is the issue of this paper interesting to other readers? We can also ask, how was the research explained? Does the research support what this document is using as its thesis? So these are just some examples of how you would model effective peer review. Another way to model effective peer review is to use the peer review feedback tutorial that was created by the University of Pittsburgh. In this tutorial, they give examples of both bad feedback and good feedback. So we're going to perform an activity where we'll group up in groups of 3, and we'll look at peerfeedback.net, and we're going to use these bad examples of peer review and come up with suggestions for the students on how they can improve and make more explicit their peer review comments. Let's do the first one together. In this case, the reviewer says, there were a lot of grammatical errors that made the paper hard to read at times. I had to read parts more than once to understand. But the author says it's unhelpful. What parts? What can we do to improve this? Well, since we don't have the paper in front of us, we can just make up a hypothetical example. Let's say they're having trouble using THERE and THEIR grammatically correct. So you would say, example, page 2, first paragraph, you say, it studied their thinking. But you use THERE, whereas THEIR is a better choice grammatically. So group up in your groups of 3, and we'll get back together in a few minutes and we'll discuss how you came up with ways to make the bad peer reviews more explicit. Thank you for your feedback and your participation in that activity. You did a great job. I can tell by the way that you were discussing that you're able to help the students create more effective peer reviews. So let's move on to modeling reflective revision. Lindemann, Camper, Jacobi, and Enoch did a study where they found reflective memos stimulate metacognition. It helps students avoid seeing their comments as directives. So instead of trying to please the teacher or just trying to fix grammatical errors, a reflective revision helps them to think about the whole structure and the quality of their paper. Students should have personal goals when they come into an essay or a paper. Zhang, Shun, and Bakaidi follow peer reviews with reflective prompts. They had great success with this with 153 students. They found that multiple inputs are more effective for change. So a peer review followed by a period of time for reflective revision is a better way to get a quality product from your rough draft. Lindemann, Camper, Jacobi, and Enoch studied students and gave them a series of reflective prompts. Here are some of the questions that they asked. What are your challenges? What was difficult for you? What did you struggle with in this paper? What adjustments have you made? What are you proud of? What can you draw from to improve this paper, to improve your next paper, to improve your next semester, or even to improve your writing in your career? These are examples of modeling good reflective prompts. Another way that we can use reflective revision is having the students use Microsoft Track Changes or Compare Document. This way the students can visually see what's different from their rough draft to their final draft. And they can see whether they've made some substantial changes or not. So let's have a reflective revision activity. We are going to get together in our groups of 3 again, and I would like for you to discuss these 2 reflective questions. Think about how you revise rough drafts in your own life and how it affects your writing. I enjoyed the feedback that I heard each of you giving to one another during this reflective revision activity. So just to take this one step further, as we conclude this presentation, I would like for you to give me one example of something you heard in your groups that challenges you as a writing teacher. Thank you. You did a great job working with me on peer review and reflective revision. I hope as we conclude this lesson that you understand how important it is to have multiple forms of input and how important it is to have quality peer review with explicit instruction from the teacher and how to use reflective revision in your writing classes. Thank you.